that news about young Philly is shocking. Like, I was not expecting that at all. So, young Philly is currently in Australia touring his new music, which has actually been going really well. So, his music is actually popping off at the moment. A lot of auto-tune, but it does well. In fact, there's loads of auto-tune, but it is catchy. Anyway, and what's happened is a story's come out of a 20-year-old girl coming over to his hotel room after an event of his, and there's been multiple counts of like RSA and something weird about breathing going on. Like, I don't know why that's mentioned. Like, I suppose it's one part of the attack, but why is that publicised? That's a bit weird. So, yeah. Now, I've been following Philly for a little while now. I've watched him in, like, Beta Squad and the Chunks and Philly podcast. I pretty much watch every single one of those. And I've got to admit, like, when I first came into contact with Philly, not actual contact, but, like, watching his stuff, he kind of annoyed me. And I think he annoys a lot of people. But the thing about Philly is he's aware of that and he plays on it. He kind of embraces it and brings that into his character. And when you know that, it kind of makes it a little bit more tolerable, but still kind of annoying. That being said, over time and watching the podcast and getting used to him and stuff and learning about him, I must admit, I started to like Philly. I think he, you know, aside from this crazy situation, I think he's a good guy. There's stories of him being generous and stuff and like helping people a lot, to the point where he's a little bit vulnerable about the things he does and he can get a little bit hurt when he helps people so much. But yeah, these things have come out in the podcast, so you know, if you wanna watch those, you'll know what I mean. He's got a very generous, nice side to him, which makes it even more heartbreaking for this to have happened. I mean, it's even worse for the person who was attacked in this, of course, and I really hope that they're seeking help and getting all the help that they need. And that goes for anybody else who's been through this kind of thing. I hope you are seeking help, no matter how, you know, late this help might be coming, or if you haven't spoken up about it and you've struggled to, do speak up. Help is out there. So for anybody who's been through this, make sure you are seeking help. I think that's really important. Again, doesn't matter how late this help is sought or this is spoken about. Talk about it. Help is out there. It's very important. Coming back to the situation, people are saying things like, so what was she doing in the hotel room? What was she expecting to happen in the hotel room? There is that. But then, of course, there's a whole side of like consent. Like, okay, what if there was an agreement? What if it was all consensual? Everything's going down the right kind of path. Yeah, it's all making sense, you know. But then consent is revoked. Maybe she changed her mind. Maybe in a situation, a guy can change his mind and a guy can get attacked. Do you know what I mean? So it really is a two-way street. So yeah, I mean, what if she changed her mind and, you know, the situation continued and this is where it's become an attack? There is that. On the other flip side of it, what if this actually was consensual but then being claimed in a certain way? Which also does happen. So I think this is just a case of like waiting for the actual details to come out. I probably will be following this just because, like, I watch their stuff. Like, I watch all Beta Squad and Philly and all that. Like, I follow them guys. They're a good bunch. You know what I mean? So it is a real tragedy, a real shame for this to have happened on all counts for all parties involved. It's a real sad one, and it'll have impact on his career. Like, brands are going to distance themselves. It's probably going to affect the podcast. Like, what's Chunks going to do next? Is he going to get somebody new, somebody as a stand-in, and then perhaps make it something new, change the name of the podcast? What's going to happen there? That's going to have quite major implications on that production. I feel like Chunks suits the podcast arena as well, so I think he will want to carry on making a podcast. Probably going to have to be somebody new involved in there. Now, Philly is in Australia, and guys, just bear in mind, Australia is really quite strict. I mean, makes sense for the legal system to be strict, but let's just rewind back to when Johnny Depp was there with his dogs, which I believe they had brought in illegally, and Australia made Depp and Heard apologise on camera. Just remember, that was Australia. So he's there and he's going to be waiting for a court date. I believe he's on bail right now. Court date might be like about a month or two, so it's going to take some time. I don't think he can leave Australia, Perth, for that period. Otherwise, it's a bit of an escape thing, isn't it? So, yeah, all very shocking, all come out of nowhere. And just thinking about it, like, if this was a whole consensual thing, then how does a celebrity like this protect themselves? What do they do? Do they have cameras set up in their room? Audio recording set up in their room? Like, what could they do? I mean, that gets into, like, Diddy territory, and we can't be having that. So, I mean, if this was consensual, then what kind of proof can, the other party have? It's tricky in that sense. I mean, stick it in the comments. What do you think? How could somebody protect themselves from this kind of thing occurring? Because bear in mind, consent can be revoked at any point, and that makes sense. Consent can be given and revoked at any point. That's how consent should be, and that's how consent is treated, and that's what all of this will basically come down to, really. It all comes down to whether it was consensual or not, and then what followed. And I suppose that will contribute to the degree to which this was an attack or not, if you know what I mean. Will Philly bounce back? Is it going to take like a few months, years even, for this to blow over and Philly reappear on our screens? Or is it over? Is it over for his music too? This could really be it. It seems like a bit of a shame in a way, because he actually was just taking off. His career was getting there. Podcast was getting there. He was getting himself to a comfortable position. And then this has happened. So, shame in that sense. But also a huge shame for the one who, of course, was attacked in this. And again, I really do hope that they're getting the help that they need and can get past this, and it doesn't cause too much of a massive detriment to their life as well. Anyway, guys, I'll be following it, so do hit subscribe, and I'll update you at some point. It's a shame though. I wish this never happened for all parties involved. For now, thanks for watching and take it easy.